Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. We have two big subjects to cover. One is the media attacks on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, which the latest one is a Washington Post actions where they tried to fact check her. But I really want to start out talking about Venezuela. And I want to first talk about Venezuela in a different kind of a way. First, as you guys know, I'm originally from Panama, Central America. I want to talk about it in that context because it is very important for Americans to understand what's going on. Here's where Venezuela is, and you can see where Panama is. But what I want to really talk about, folks, because this is important, this is history repeating itself. This is a history of a whole lot of Latin Americans getting killed again if things go a certain kind of way. So we're going to talk about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but we're also going to talk about some other important issues with Venezuela. So what I want to do is I want to start with Venezuela, and please bear with me, hang around. Welcome Michael Dean Newton, Cinderly Stokes. Welcomes aboard the program. Glad to see you guys are here. So I really want us. Don't take it out of context about die, okay? Please don't take that out of context, Cinderly. But we'll talk about that. And by the way, you can feel free to give us a call as well at 646-716-5812. If anybody call even while I'm doing the blog of the week, what I'm going to try to do is get them in. But I want to start with Venezuela, and I want to start by telling a little story. And the story goes like this. In 1988 or so, somewhere around those times, in Panama, the United States wanted Noriega and Manuel Antonio Noriega, the then Panamanian dictator, to go ahead and do some special things, right, for the United States. They wanted him to do some special things. He decided that he wasn't going to do it. So they decided they were going to arrest him. But before they arrest him, they wanted to debilitate the country so it would be easy, soften the country up so that it would be easy to either attack him or the people will revolt against him, one or the other. But they were hoping for the people to revolt against him. So what they did is the money in Panama is called the Balboa. Okay, the Balboa is the national currency of Panama, but it is based on the dollar. So one Balboa is equal to $1. So most of the times we don't even print the Balboa, we just use the dollar in Panama. What happened when they did that is the United States crippled the country by holding back on all dollars. As you know, there's a Panama Canal where Americans live and Americans work. What did they do out there? They went ahead and these people would get paid in American dollars, but the Panamanians who worked for the canal couldn't get their checks cashed and they couldn't do it. They couldn't buy products. In effect, they crippled the country so bad, they put the country in a very bad state. Hi, Kathleen Morgan. They put the country in a bad state. That is what America normally does. They cripple the economic system of a country because of the power they have individually and with the World Bank. Now, what occurred then is the country was in dire straits, but the ingenuity of the Panamanian people started to use the checks that the Americans got in the canal zone as currency. They also created their own semi-currency to exchange because they knew at some time all of this would pass. But what the American government did then is cripple the Panamanian economy, hoping that the people in that country would overtake and overthrow the government. When that didn't happen, Then the American government moved in with the military, and in the process killed over, again, the UN said Americans said 1,000 Panamanians, the UN said between 3,000 4,000 Panamanians, but we know it was over 10,000 Panamanians that were killed by all the bombing, the killings, and so forth during the invasion of Panama. I see the same thing repeating in Venezuela, and the difference in Venezuela, however, is they have a bigger army. They have a real army, and also they have people that are ready who are Chavistas that are ready to get involved. So let me warn Americans, you can't believe what you're hearing in the United States papers on Venezuela. You can't necessarily take at face value the Venezuelans that are in the United States who are backing Guaido, the new person that America has declared is the president of Venezuela. Here is the thing. The sad story of Venezuela goes a very, very long time. America has always intervened in Venezuela, but American people don't know about it. Venezuela is very, very, very rich in natural resources, gold, but mostly, of course, oil. And we have always had either a dictator or a friendly government who has continuously sold out the people of Venezuela for the oil companies, specifically Shell and Exxon. Okay, these are the truths. You can't have a country that is swimming in oil. The largest observed reserve of crude of any country in the world right now is in Venezuela. And these people have been living in abject poverty. A certain group of the population have been living in abject poverty. Of course, there are those who've always reside in a sweet spot, the ones who protect the plutocracy, who runs the oil companies, who do all these things that have been doing fairly well. So, of course, those are the people that you see migrating, the few millions that you see that are leaving the country, and that hate the country. They hate the country, of course, because now, or rather hate the current government, because the spoils that they got, the perks that the small amount of people got because of the pilfer of the country to the oil companies, meaning Shell, Exxon, and these others, they are no longer they are now personas non gratas, okay? So the reality that a lot of people have to understand here, my dear brothers and sisters, is that it's a lot more complicated. The fact that they try to make Hugo Chavez into this criminal was solely because he tried to create a democratic socialist Bolivarian republic. And in the process, brought a whole lot of people out of poverty, brought education to a whole lot of people. But again, it was not a capitalist change. It was a change into a democratic socialist state that actually started to work. Let me tell you better, that what you don't hear a lot is how much gas and oil that's given to people in the Northeast from Venezuela, because again, they're a huge oil exporter. And while our government have problems giving free oil or whatever to people in need, they came in and they assisted. I mean, yes, it's sort of a PR thing, but for those people that are receiving the oil from Venezuela, it's not PR, it is survival. So look, things are not black and white. Maduro is neither good or bad. Now, Maduro is just a lousy executioner of a democratic social state. Now, Hugo Chavez, again, was one of the folks that were attempting to do things sort of right, okay? Now, they talk about the Venezuelan election being a fraud. Oh my God, the Venezuelan election was a fraud. The people didn't get the person they voted for, etc., etc., etc. Again, as I asked in something that I did in a monologue that I did a couple of days ago, suppose Germany came to the United States and said, hey, Russia had involvement in your election, and not only did Russia have involvement in your election, but guess what else happened in your election? Hillary Clinton was the one who won the most vote, so how can it be that you're a democratic country and the person who lost the election won the election? And suppose they then didn't recognize the United States and decided to say, the president of the United States is really Hillary Rodham Clinton. I mean, under this pretext that we are using to go into Venezuela, that is what we are giving others the right to say. We are giving others the right to say, guess what? President Trump is not the president of the United States, but Hillary Clinton. Why? She got the most votes, and your election was corrupted because Donald Trump used the services of Russia to get into office. I mean, look, the sword should cut on both sides, right? So the reality, however, is that we should have no right, zero rights to go into some third country and try to play we are going to solve the problems of a fraudulent election or something like that. It's not deserving for us to do that. We are wrong in our attempt to do that. So folks, the Venezuelan situation is something that I think we all should be abreast of. For those who think that, oh, maybe this is something that shouldn't concern us, no, my brothers and sisters, this should definitely concern us, because if the Maduro government does not fall, and who is Maduro? Nicolas Maduro, that is Nicolas Maduro right there. If the Nicolas Maduro government doesn't fall to this particular guy, and who is this particular guy? Juan Guaido. If it doesn't fall to him, in other words, we want to go from the socialist, from the democratic socialist Nicolas Maduro to this guy who is I want to call him a libertarian dream for oil companies, a libertarian dream for oil companies, somebody that's going to take all the wealth of the country and pass it back on like Venezuela has done for decades. And that is, very few people take care of the spoils of a country that has a huge amount of natural resources that should belong to them all. Hey, I'm going to tell you something before I go to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Here's the funny thing about it, my brothers and sisters. Think about this. Venezuela is not all that much different than the United States. Think about all the oil and all the natural resources that are in this country. And think about how the money from the sale of all those natural resources don't go into the coffers of the United States, because all these ores and these minerals should belong to us all. I mean, it wasn't placed there by anybody other than the divine, or however it got there. Why should individual companies get the spoils from it, which is what happens in this country as well? So we're not much. The only difference that we have from Venezuela is that our plutocracy has not yet completely extracted all that there is from us, but it's getting there. If you take a look at income inequality and all these particular issues, it is telling us that we are Venezuela in the making. Whenever a plutocracy pilfers you, and in this case, again, when Hugo Chavez was there, he was a strong enough leader that he was able to start bringing these folks out of poverty. But again, the plutocracy, with the help of the United States and Venezuela, continues to destabilize the country. I mean, they destabilize it economically. Now Donald Trump is talking about adding several more $1 billion of sanctions to Venezuela. They're trying to cripple the country. In other words, they're going to hurt the people in the country to get that one man. 10,000 Panamanians had to die because they wanted to pick up Manuel Antonio Noriega. How many thousands Venezuelans will have to die, will have to suffer, because America is going to let them feel pain if they don't get rid of Nicolas Maduro, a democratic socialist that the United States doesn't want in power. And why don't they want them in power? There is no way the United States is going to allow a democratic socialist to be sitting on top of the largest reserves of oil, because they want that in a capitalist structure. That amount of oil in a democratic socialist state means, oh my God, people are going to see that when resources are apportioned in a fair manner, the plutocracy does, the rich people, the multi-rich doesn't get to be multi-rich anymore. Instead, we have a more equitable distribution of the resources of the country. That is what we're talking about, my brothers and sisters. That's what we're talking about. That is what the United States, the current administration, and several other administrations are trying to arrest. If they allow a country with natural resources to use the democratic socialist model that helps all, if they allow that to occur, and Americans see that in action, and Americans say, wait a minute, we were just like Venezuela. Why is it that oil in all our federal lands are going to just a few? Why is it that the minerals in just a few, on all federal lands, are going to satisfy a few? Why is it not going into the coffers of the United States so that we can solve all our problems? Folks, we have to get with the program. This affects us all. This affects us all. If we don't see the big picture, if we don't see the lies that are being told by our own media to us, if we continue to just believe things are the way they tell us it is, then we would have deserved exactly what we've deserved. Folks, the telephone number is 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. I would love to hear from you. and I'd love to hear from you as soon as you get a chance, because you know what? I want to hear your point of view. If you disagree with some of what I said, I would like other people to hear what you disagree with. I'd like us to discuss this, because this is serious. We're looking at Venezuela right now, but we could be looking at many other things. We could be looking at at the American fate as well. So please, folks, let's go ahead and consider. Talking about this. Let's go ahead and consider really doing this soon. Folks, the telephone number is 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. I'd love to hear from you. Today's show is titled, "The Media Attacks on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is Clearly Directed for a Reason." The all-out attack is on her. It is clear that the second title, it is clear that the plutocracy is scared of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Their wards, some in the mainstream media, are starting to come in for their rescue. Again, they think they have to come and rescue the plutocracy. Why? They have to rescue the plutocracy. Why? They have to rescue the plutocracy. Their wards, some in the mainstream media, are starting to come into their rescue. Anyway, folks, look, I want to be clear. Even as many would like to make the policies advocated by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez as out of left field, the reality is that most Americans support what she stands for right now. If you check the polls and you ask America what they want, do they want paid forward college? Yes, they do. Do they want support for their kids if they have to go to work that they can afford? Yes, they do. Do they want do they want to have Medicare for all? In other words, that they can go to the hospitals when they need to, that they can get health care when they need to? Yes, they do. Do they want a clean environment? Yes, they do. Do they want to have clean water? Yes, they do. Do they want clean air? Yes, they do. I mean, just about everything bars certain social issues Americans are progressive on, and we have the mantra. We are the ones that have the ears of the American people. Only when folks lie or try to change the subject or have you look somewhere else do you realize that we don't. So Americans want what progressives are offering. But many people who are deemed as progressives are scared to push it because our plutocracy does not. Read the Powell Manifesto as far as how the indoctrination occurred to have us believe that somehow progressive values aren't our own. In fact, they are the vast majority of Americans. Unfortunately for the plutocracy, a charismatic leader like Ocasio-Cortez is their most recent nightmare, because her base is now the largest potential voting bloc in the country. And that is what it's all about. Her base is the potential largest voting bloc in the country. But folks, do you know what time it is?
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay. Weekly blog post is titled, and I wrote this over the weekend. I sort of very upset when I wrote it because, again, you know what we have, and I saw somebody came onto our show and they said something to the effect of, I think it was, let's see, what's her name? Cindy Stokes said she said we're gonna die in 12 years, and she continued to make some. Let me go to the thing. She said her own. I want to give a list of what Cinderly Stokes, and Cinderly, you can respond if you think I'm misinterpreting anything that you said. Cinderly Stokes said she said this is World War II. She said we're all gonna die in 12 years. Her words embarrass herself. She said we're all gonna die in 12 years. Okay. She was speaking. She was speaking rhetorically, right? She was speaking rhetorically, and one of the things about it is the way they are classifying, or the way they like to judge Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, is how they wouldn't judge any man, is how they wouldn't judge anybody else who supposedly would have more a centrist or right-wing view. But you know what? Ocasio-Cortez is doing just what I think she needs to do. Title of the blog of the week is Ocasio-Cortez Fights as Mainstream Media Try to Destroy Her by Subjective Fact Checks. We must have her back. And again, I repeat, we must have her back. And it goes like this as follows, my friends. A few blog posts ago, I pointed out that the progressive blogosphere and media must have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's back. Everything she said will be scrutinized if she does not get it 100% correct. Even if the sentiment based on real outcomes is correct, they will slaughter her to destroy her overall credibility. This is an example. The Huffington Post reported on a recent spat between Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the Washington Post Glenn Kessler about some statements she made about the minimum wage and the living wage. Okay? And this is what they had to say. And bear with me 1 second as I cue something up here. Let me just say, this is what Kessler said. Or the Huffington Post said. Representative Ocasio-Cortez, let's see, side with, okay, here we go. Representative Ocasio-Cortez faced off with Washington Post Glenn Kessler in a heated battle over a fact check, chiding her for playing fast and loose with the truth on living and minimum wages. The statements and questions came during a Martin Luther King Day Q&A last Monday with writer Ta-Nehisi Coates. While discussing economic inequality, the freshman congresswoman asserted that a vast majority of the country doesn't make a living wage, lamenting that you can work 100 hours and not feed your kids. I think it's wrong that corporations like Walmart and Amazon can get paid by the government, essentially experience a wealth transfer from the public for paying people less than a minimum wage, she added. Debunking the lawmakers' claim on minimum wage, Kessler turned to MIT's wage calculator, speaking to its manager, Amy Glimmer, who noted the statement wasn't quite accurate considering 2017's living wage averaged just over $16 an hour. Still, Glassmere acknowledged estimates are tough. Before I continue with that piece, $16 an hour for a family of four, what are they talking about? Please do the calculation. That is just over $30,000 if my calculations are right. How could you possibly live on that? It's ridiculous. Anyhow, but Kessler gave Ocasio-Cortez credit where it was due, noting that 100 hours remark was a low estimate, if any. In other words, 100 hours. So how can you say it's a living wage, and at the same time, the same reporter comes back and said, but yes, you could work 100 hours and still not feed your kids. Again, this is a plutocracy just trying to discredit Ocasio-Cortez for making statements that are true. Now, whenever it's funny, they complain about hyperbole now. Whatever happened to the time when we used to speak a whole lot about death panels and all of that? Were they that scrupulous or scrutinizing it the way they should when we know those were simply ultimate and complete lies? Absolutely not. They didn't do that. Continuing with the article, however, when it came to her comments on Walmart and Amazon, Kessler pointed out that both corporations pay workers more than minimum wage, also contending her claim of a wealth transfer was flimsy based on a 2005 paper written by Jason Fernman, who would later chair the Council of Economic Advisors in the Obama era. Firing back at Kessler's check, Ocasio-Cortez accused him of using a Walmart-funded think tank as a reference material for wage fairness, raising him 4 Geppettos for his 3 Pinocchios. In other words, they're going back and forth with who is really lying. That's when Kessler clapped back, denying her portrayal of the Furman paper was even close to correct. He said, "She's wrong," he tweeted. "Don't always believe what you read, what you see on Twitter." The article has been updated with a note explaining the provenance. First, we need to thank, and that's the end of that quote, but first, we need to thank Ryan Grimm. I remember when Ryan used to work, I think he used to work for Huffington Post, for his objective assessment of the fact check. He rightfully suggested that Glenn Kessler retract the fact check of Ocasio-Cortez. So here we have other good journalists coming and hitting back at Kessler for what he's doing. Here's what Grimm said. Grimm said, objectively, this Glenn Kessler fact check from yesterday should simply be retracted. It's just flat out wrong, even before you get to the question of the paper he cited, titled Walmart, a Progressive Success Story. Look, all these newspaper pundits and newspapers and pundits are quick to check every utterances, statement, calculation, or narrative that Ocasio-Cortez puts out there. They do it every time. Every word that she says is scrutinized. Some people may say, well, if she knows all her words are scrutinized, maybe she needs to be more careful. You know what? I'm going to tell you something. More careful, sometimes I'll say maybe depend on what you're talking about. But if what you're talking about is you're telling the big picture, and the big picture that she's telling is absolutely true. We're being pilfered by the plutocracy, the Walmarts, the Amazon. And I'll repeat about Jeff Bezos, something that I said on a show recently about Jeff Bezos, but I'll talk about that in a little bit later. Let me finish with the blog of the week. But yet, they have rarely given scrutiny to outright lies and policy statements put out by those on the right side and neoliberals. Yes, and that is a fact. They continue to judge Cortez by by standards they don't judge anybody else by. Why? You have to ask yourself, why do they do that? That is because they are wards of the plutocracy. Anybody doubts that? They are, again, I repeat, wards of the plutocracy, and that is what we have to fight against, them being wards of the plutocracy. Where are all the definitive statements on the failure of supply-side economics that have decimated the middle class? How do we know the statements by all its supporters are false? We are living through its failure that proves all papers written in support of it were likely academically manufactured lies to keep it alive. So here we've disproven supply-side economics. We've proven that it's a failure. We're living the failure of supply-side economics. Yet, you don't see them fact-checking it day in and day out. They're not doing that, but they are always ready to fact-check Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Look, I mentioned the following article, Why They Fear Alexandria Cortez. I wrote that, and it did very well at Daily Kos yesterday on Sunday. And this is what I said in that article. What is a short answer why they fear Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? Ocasio-Cortez is a leader in the largest potential voting bloc in the country, the millennials. They are living the realities, the effects of the wrong-headed, greedy, extractive policies of the past. Millennials see themselves in her, that she lived paycheck to paycheck, unable to immediately get an apartment in D.C. is the reality many of her peers, anyone who moved back home. The long answer, however, is even more dangerous. The policies that Ocasio-Cortez promotes puts unfettered capitalism at risk, and that is the issue, putting unfettered capitalism at risk. That is why Hugo Chavez they tried their best not to have him succeed. That is why they need to ensure Nicolas Maduro is not able to revive the Bolivarian revolution of Hugo Chavez. Because if at some point anybody realized, sitting on a whole lot of resources, that distributing that resource fairly, taxing that resource fairly, ensuring that that the resources aren't given away for a big profit by a few. That is what they fear the most. And folks, I really ask you to really look at the picture. Don't necessarily listen to what I'm saying. Let's look at the reality of why things are the way they are. It has very little to do with, he's a corrupt politician or whatever. It has everything to do with they cannot allow a successful non-European socialist country to succeed. And notice I said non-European socialist country to succeed, because if you want to take a certain democratic socialist countries, let's look at Israel. let's remember there are these things called kibbutz and some other healthcare makes it a democratically socialist state. Let's take a look at Sweden. Let's take a look at Norway. Let's take a look at Switzerland. Let's take a look at a lot of these places that provide France, that provide all these services. So let's get fair here and tell you why it is that these guys are so adamant that somebody sitting on top of those natural resources aren't necessarily could not possibly rule. The other thing, of course, is with China being so active in South America and Latin America, the last thing they want is a country that's not their puppet. Because you know what? China is ready to buy all of Venezuela's oil. China is ready to invest in Venezuela. China is investing all over Central America. And you know what we're doing? We're fighting wars. Instead of building goodwill around the world, we're fighting wars. Instead of doing the right things around the world, we're fighting wars. Folks, the telephone number is 646 716-5812. Again, that is 646-716-5812. When I'm done reading the blog of the week, which will be fairly soon, I would love to hear from some of you because you know what? I want to hear your point of view, what you think. Anyhow, the long answer is even more dangerous about why they fear Alexandria Cortez. The policies that Ocasio-Cortez promotes puts unfettered capitalism at risk. Ms. Ocasio-Cortez is beholden to no one. You see, she won her election on her own whim. She won an election her own style. She won her election by doing grassroots, by captivating at the grassroots level. Think about this. They don't want her to succeed because you know how many folks are ready to go into their own districts in a grassroots manner and win? Think about that. Think about how many politicians can be knocked off by a grassroots movement in their own districts. We're talking 300. What is it? 430 something districts. Think about how many of those could be knocked off by a grassroots movement. So they cannot. The plutocracy has to do its best to put Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in the worst light. They have to do their best to try to diminish her. They have to do their best to make her somebody that is a caricature. Because if they don't do that, if she is successful, then they fear the gates open. So Ocasio-Cortez is beholden to no one. She beat a powerful incumbent who outspent her. Unlike many other politicians, she currently displays no instincts of being ideologically corruptible by those wielding the destructive tenets of the Powell Manifesto. Please, I have the Powell Manifesto link in the blog of the week. Click on that link and see the indoctrination that was by design, the ones that, again, promoted the creation of the Cato Institute, the Heritage Foundation, and all these other groups, right? Folks, we have to understand that we're being played. We have to understand that we're being played. Look, the powers will not relinquish their ability to pilfer the middle class. They won't do that. They will not relinquish their power to rule the middle class, to pilfer the middle class. And they will have all their peons and wards on the job ready to destroy anyone who they see as a risk. So any of us who become a risk to the plutocracy, any one of us, they're going to try to come after. That's why you have to have your numbers. That's why we have to bring the numbers together. Folks, if you're just learning or just getting here, please go ahead and share these programs. We need Americans informed. We need Americans informed. Give us a call as well at 646-716-5812. That's the number on the screen. If you're listening on Blog Talk Radio and don't have a screen, 646-716-5812. So, folks, this 29-year-old scares them to death. She is a passionate leader because she inspires, has a spine, and owes her victory to no one but regular American citizens. Let's make sure we all have her back. She needs us as much as we need what she represents. Again, I repeat, she needs us just as much as what she represents. Telephone number, folks, 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. Okay, let's see. David Charbonneau, Cinderly AG, not sure what that means. Anne Maroney, they've been admitting all along they are afraid of strong women. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You don't hear them bitching and whining about some scary warlocks, do ya? No, you don't. You're so right, my friend. You are so right. Folks, the telephone number is, what is the telephone number again? 646 716 5812. Why don't somebody give me a call? 646 716 5812. While I wait for some more, anybody have more comments? Just throw the comments in there so that we can go ahead and answer whatever questions you have, or talk to you about whatever you want to talk about. But please go ahead and put it in the comment section. I'm now using a new comment tool that allows me to aggregate the comments from everywhere into one place. So that should make things a little bit easier for me, that I don't miss when you write a comment or something like that. So you comment away. If you have a question and you don't want to call in with the question, just put it as a comment under the video, and I should see it pop up on the screen so that I can answer it. So please give me a call at 646-716-5812, or leave a comment. I'll see the comment fairly soon or right away. Now, what I want to ask you, though, is to remind you that this is a progressive show. I'd like to ask you to please consider supporting us at patreon.com/politicsdoneright. That is patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Why would you want to do that? You'd want to do that because, folks, we are coming to you not with false information. And by the way, I forgot to put a picture up. This is a guy that challenged Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. There he is. That is who challenged Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. All right. So you can see these are guys that are the mainstays of the mainstays of the elite plutocracy and what I call the wards of the plutocracy. Okay, we cannot allow them to get across the system. Anyhow, like I said before, now my friends, please go ahead and consider supporting Politics Done Right at patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Again, that is patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Those of you who subscribe to Politics Done Right will be the first to start. As I write chapters, How to Make America Utopia, as I write those chapters, anytime I release a new chapter, you'll get it right away to read online. And of course, when the book is complete, you'll get the entire book. So please go ahead and support us. Look, what you're really doing is supporting what we do here. We fly all over the country. We get interviews. We also keep you informed. Like we give you the alternate view. Like we have when we talk about Venezuela, the stories that we're getting here in Venezuela are not true. I am from Panama, Central America. I've always known the stories that we get about Central America from Latin America are not true. They're spoken in a way to give the United States government, specifically the military, or not the United States government really. It is to give our corporations and the ward of the corporations, which is the United States government, if they don't get something that they want, the corporations don't get, the oil companies don't get something they want in Latin America, the banana companies, if they don't get something, they know that they have full and entire control of the United States government, and they can force the change of a government, they can force the change of anything in Latin America, and that's why they do it. Now, they created a completely new scenario. The vice president called Juan Guaido of Venezuela and said, "You are going to be president." I don't know if he quite said that. We don't know what happened in the story. But I mean, he called him, and the day after the vice president of the United States called the Speaker of the House of Venezuela, what did he did? He went ahead and he declared, "I am the president." And immediately thereafter, the United States and many other countries said, "Okay, Juan Guaido is now the president of the United States, is now the president of Venezuela." Suppose Angela Merkel, president of Germany, says, "Well, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. Hillary Clinton, and the election was cheated because Russia was involved, and therefore we declare Hillary Clinton the president of the United States." Or actually, the similarity would be, "And we declare the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, as the new president," since both President Trump and Mike Pence has to leave because they got there on wrong. I mean, that is exactly what they're saying. So anyhow, we are here to report real news. What you're hearing on the news about Venezuela is not true. What you're hearing about Hugo Chavez and what he accomplished or whatever, just not true. It is absolutely not true. So folks, please, we are here to give you real information that you can fact check, and we can tell you where to fact check it. Go to Telesur TV.net, and you can get some corroboration with also additional corroborating information. Don't look at the United States newspapers when we're talking about Latin America, because more than likely they've got it wrong. Some of them not necessarily purposefully, just because that's the way the narrative is told by the plutocracies in these other countries, as opposed to what is really happening. There's a narrative that gets created, that narrative gets propagated throughout the areas, and then we as Americans believe what they're telling us. We cannot do that. We cannot fool ourselves. Please support Politics Done Right and other independent media. I don't ask you to do this, do something I don't do myself. I personally support a lot of progressive media because I know we have to keep these sources alive. Why do we have to keep these sources alive? We have to keep these sources alive because we know going forward, as the plutocracy feels threatened by people like AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and other progressives, which puts unfettered capitalism at risk. They will do all they can to misinform the vast majority of Americans. And a vast majority of Americans being misinformed means we get Trump, who do all the wrong things. So please, folks, please, I ask kindly, please go to patreon.com, patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Support the program. Let's make sure we can continue to be here to tell the story, to tell the real stories. Getting back into the program, I think I better go ahead and start talking to, answering some questions. Let's see, Melissa Noble said, wait, let me get this screen up here. That screen is already there, and I need to go to that screen. Here we go. Let me say hi, Melissa Noble. Melissa Noble says, AOC is wonderful. She has all the right ingredients to be leader. I don't mind if she errs. That's how some people grow and learn to do better. Show me someone who never has erred. At least she has the right intentions. You know, Melissa, you just said one of the most important things when you say, at least she had the right intentions. You are so right about that when you say that at least she has the right intentions, because what we find, right? What we find is all these people that are constantly on her case. Oh, she's doing wrong here. She's doing wrong there. The one thing they forget to tell you all of the times is many of these people are doing these things maliciously. Maliciously. So let's remember that. They are doing a lot of what they're doing maliciously. And you don't want that. You definitely don't want it done maliciously. So let's stay calm. Let's remember, I think I have some issues here. Bear with me one second. Right, go. There we go. There we go. I think I got that taken care of. Okay, so you're right about that, Melissa. When she talks, I mean, she may make certain statements that don't quite jive. I'm not trying to say she shouldn't be exacting on her statements. She should try to be as exacting as possible. But let's go ahead and judge everything else the same. Let's remember what let's remember how they criticize when they spoke about throw mommy under the bus and all of that. All of those things were lies, and they didn't quite say, oh, you're absolutely wrong. Melissa Noble again, how quickly our government went to aid Venezuela, yet what about Puerto Rico? Oh, so that is so... You know, I have been derelict on Puerto Rico, and I am going to try to do better. Puerto Rico is a part of the United States, and that we have so left Puerto Rico without the necessary service to rebuild, that we have allowed corporations to pilfer Puerto Rico, whether it be the drug companies or the private companies that have taken over the electric grid or whatever. It's been wrong. Whether it is that we've so pilfered the country that that teachers' retirements are hampered. I mean, think about all the things that we've done in Puerto Rico. It's sad. And I think we need to talk a whole lot more about that. Folks, send me some messages if you have anything specific you want to add to the discussion. Go ahead and write it in the message side, and I'll be more than happy to discuss it. But again, we have to take control of the message. We have to take control of the message. So today's program again was we covered two specific items. One was Venezuela, and the other was the constant mischaracterization of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. We have to take it. Okay, I don't have any more questions. Let me see if I need to start a new narrative. Let me check one other place to make sure that we really have no more questions or no more statements. For those of you listening, if you have anything to add, please remember you can give us a call at, oops, I don't have the phone number up. I better get to that screen. A call at 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. Won't you call? You can call from your telephone. You can call from Skype. You can even call, I think you can even call from Facebook. But again, that is your choice. So back to Venezuela again. I want to remind the newcomers that are just coming here, that are just logging on. I just saw a new batch come in. The stories you're hearing about Venezuela are not correct. In fact, they are blatantly not correct. They would have you believe that Venezuela is in the state that it is in because of it trying to be a democratic socialist state. That is not the case. When Hugo Chavez was in power, his Bolivarian revolution, along with his democratic socialist state, made a difference. It brought a whole lot of people out of poverty. It educated a whole lot of people. America cannot allow that, or would not. And it's not America, the people. It's America, the businesses, could not allow a successful transition as Hugo Chavez was making. He could not allow it. The companies cannot, because they themselves in the United States of America and around the world continue to pilfer the middle class. They continue to extract resources from us all. All the resources in these countries, all the resources in America that's in the national forests, in the national forests and the national parks where they drill, they give monies or they profit for the few. It's no different than Venezuela. The only difference is we are ahead financially. We're ahead as a rich country, but it is constantly diminishing. The numbers that you see about income inequality and wealth disparity are real, and eventually there's a turning point. Remember, there was a time when only one person in a household had to work. Then it became two people, mother and dad, had to work. There are a lot of social ills. You know, the same social ills that many of the conservatives complain about came into the fold specifically because there was no supervision in homes because both parents had to work. Now we get to another step where even children have to work to get the things that they have to get just for living. And now we are at a new stage, and that is children either graduating out of college or not having been to college and just working, or coming back home, which means now the home is multifamilial. And then we have families shacking together because one family can't afford to live alone. And again, all of this that's happening is happening so that more and more people, less and less people at the top, in other words, a few at the top, continue to take a bigger slice of the pie. They would have you believe that an economy can grow forever. I tell this to a lot of people all of the times. An economy cannot. An economy has a growth rate, okay? And if let's say the economy average growth rate is 2.5%, but it also has a growth rate of the wealthy. Nobody's putting in money in the stock market at 2.5%. Nobody's putting all these monies in different places for 2.5%. They're putting money where it can grow at, let's say, 7%, 8%, 9%, 10% a year. Some people have made 50% this year. Here is a mathematical fact. The mathematical fact is simple. If the total economy is growing at 2%, my dear brothers and sisters, this is a simple math problem. If the total economy is growing at 2%, and the wealthy, those people who have stocks and capital, if they are growing their wealth and income at 7% and beyond, that means they are taking a bigger slice of the economy. This isn't wealth or rich envy. This is math. If they are taking a bigger chunk of the economy, what you would normally see in the economy is that people are less wealthy. And guess what? We don't have to ask if that is what's going to happen anymore. We can see it happening. When families have to double up, when mother, father, and children have to work, it is saying that more people are getting less of the pie, and a few people are taking much bigger share of that pie. Now, when Ocasio-Cortez says we want a 70% tax rate on marginal incomes above X million dollars, oh, they scream. I think Ocasio-Cortez is being generous. Nobody is worth that kind of money. They cannot provide enough services to other people and products to other people to justify them owning that piece of an economy that belongs to us all. The economy does not belong to Jeff Bezos. The economy does not belong to Bill Gates. The economy does not belong to any one of these people as individuals at all. It's not. The economy is ours. We decide what an economy is going to look like. And for them to monopolize that portion of the economy, it is our job as we the people not to allow that to occur, because it is at our detriment that they're doing it. I'm not saying that they're bad people, but we have a flawed economic system. The capitalist economic model is flawed. And it allows those things to happen. So when Ocasio-Cortez wants to charge 70%, it is wrong. It's 95% of a delta amount of income. What it means is your first $10 million may cap out at, 50% tax rate. But as you go higher, you take more and more away. And what that does is it incentivizes a behavior that doesn't just try to raise as much money as possible for a small amount of people, but raise the money for the many. Okay, Mike Cisak says Chavez put more people in poverty, not less. Government cannot bring people out of poverty. That's a silly statement, my dear good brother. You're not correct. Whether it's government or free enterprise that's putting people out of poverty, it doesn't matter. Money doesn't know owner. Money doesn't know anything. All money knows is economic activity. Government can take people out of poverty. We did it here in the United States. Ask poor people, ask old people if government did not take them out of poverty. Ask old people what Social Security did for them. That's government. Ask old people what Medicare did for them. That's government. It took them out of poverty. In the past, before those programs, those people simply died or died in poverty and died. Okay? Let's be clear. Now, Rene Perpetua, 8% of the population lives paycheck to paycheck. That's an absolute fact as well. Sadly, that's the case. Late-stage capitalism will spell our doom. You're right. Capitalism has some virtues. After it reaches a certain point, it has to be capped. Rene, you get it. Rene Perpetua, you get it. Many continue to consider capitalism a religion. Ron Cole will make it easy. In a room of 100 oranges and 100 people, there are limited resources, like the planet Earth. If one person decides they will take 99 oranges and let most starve to death, well, then it is the moral responsibility of the 99 to save the others and themselves. Ron Cole, you are so right. Ron Cole, I love the way you put that. In other words, what Ron Cole is saying, my brothers and sisters, it is our moral responsibility to not allow the pilferers to continue pilfering, whether benevolently or not. Ron Cole, thank you. Mike Cisak, Egberto, the economy expands when overall it is growing. The rich don't take from others. That is a myth. People become rich when they invent something that everyone needs. Rich people create jobs that other people work for money. That is a simplistic fallacy. A stockbroker creates nothing. A stock trader creates nothing. An engineer creates products that can be sold. What we have is an economy, a service economy, in which the highest paid people are people who create absolutely nothing. Sir, your statement proves my point. In fact, I believe a part of your statement. It says, the economy expand. You said people become rich when they invent something. They don't become rich when they invent something. But when they invent something, they should get a recompense for it. But guess what? The rich in this country produce nothing. Jeff Bezos doesn't produce anything. Jeff Bezos is an idea. Jeff Bezos is really a parasite. Jeff Bezos is a parasite. Jeff Bezos uses the intellect of others. Jeff Bezos uses the labor of others. That is what made Jeff Bezos rich. We have an economic system that allows parasites to thrive. Remember that, sir. We have an economic system that allows parasites to thrive. You have to learn, indoctrination is what we have to get away from. We are indoctrinated into thinking Jeff Bezos did something positive. Okay, he made no. I created one click. I just didn't know other people patented it. Because you know what? One click was so darn simple. 1 million people could create one click. Right? I didn't make any money off of it, but Jeff Bezos sure did. Brothers and sisters, we have to stop the indoctrination. Bezos compensates people. Bezos doesn't compensate a damn person for their work, my dear brother. No, Bezos compensates nobody. People work, and Bezos give them less than the value of their work. That is what Bezos does. People work, Bezos collects the money and give them less of their worth. That's what really occurs. Remember, socialism isn't slavery. Socialism is democratic socialism. And let's make sure and have it right. Democratic socialism. Unfettered capitalism is what slavery is. Unfettered capitalism means those who work for the unfettered capitalists are slaves. I was on a program last night and I told folks, I said, I'm an engineer. I'm a slave. I was a slave. And they said, you're an engineer. You're not a slave. You're a well-educated man. And you did. I said, yes. But when I worked for the corporatocracy, I was a slave. Egberto Willis, the color of his skin didn't make him a slave in the 1980s. Working for a corporation that paid him less than his value made him a slave. And I look into the eyes of my brothers and my sisters and say that. Now, I'd like to talk, let's see, voting to take what other people, we are not taking what other people's work because they didn't work. Bezos didn't work. So taxing the holy hell out of Bezos is not taking away his work because he didn't work. The people who worked are all the other people whose excess labor he's spending. Different way of thinking, people. Different way of thinking. My brothers and my sisters. My brothers. Let me see. Melissa Noble says, I want to know why I see some rich people and corporations exploit those of service. When the wealthy make a donation, they have used their exploitation to appear generous and win friends. Always background check and look under the veil. You are so very smart, my dear Melissa Noble. You get it and you understand it. Folks, my last pitch and to ask you to please support Politics Done Right. Politics Done Right, you can go to patreon.com/Politics Done Right. That is patreon.com/Politics Done Right. I'd love to get to 100 subscribers this week. Could you help me get there? 100 subscribers this week. Please, if you can't, please share the link. Patreon.com, patreon.com/Politics Done Right. I'd like to get 100 Patreon subscribers. We have another few dozens on other platforms as well. But what we need to do is, the reality is, to be sustainable over the years, we need about 1,500 or more Patreon subscribers based on the average rate that we're getting right now. So I would love for you to help us keep this project going. It is necessary. And as you can see, based on what Mike Cisak, guys like Mike Cisak and others that are out there, good people, otherwise indoctrinated, but good people, we do need to have support so that we can give the truth, the real message. By the way, Egberto, I tried to call 4 minutes ago. You can call. I see that the phone is still working. 646, it looks to me like it's still working, so try calling again if you will. It should be working. I see it on, but, what can I say? I don't know, but I think it should be working. But, folks, please go to patreon.com, patreon.com/Politics Done Right, /Politics Done Right. just type me what message you got when you attempted to make that call, 646, and I'd love to know what occurred. Anyhow, folks, please, again, I need your support. Patreon.com, Politics Done Right needs your support. Independent media needs your support. I just want to tell you guys something. I don't only ask for support, okay? What I do, I give to opednews.com, I give to democraticunderground.com, I give to kpft.org, I give to dailycoast.com, I also give to coffeepartyusa.com. And why do we do that? Why do we do that? We do that because it's a must. Thank you, Rene Perpetua, for telling them to please help buy Egberto and Politics Done Right a cup of coffee. That is, let me tell you, that is how we keep the message going. You guys are wonderful. I got to end this show now. You are wonderful. Love all my listeners. I love you to death. We are going to make that change. We are going to inform people. We're going to let people know what's going on. We're going to tell them the truth. We are going to get the change made, folks. Stick with me. Let's and I'm not going to fight. Look, I have all kind of conservatives come on board. Mike Cisak and others. I love Mike. I look at Mike as somebody who is entrenched in the system, but that someday I am going to be able to say something that Mike is going to say, I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it, because I need Mike. I need Daniel Lado. I need all these folks to get on the train, because together we have to fight to beat this system that is hurting us all. Please go to patreon.com, patreon.com/politics done right. Please support the program. And with this, folks, my name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you know how I end this baby. I am out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3, 4.